Officer Carla Jennings sprinted through the back alleys of Southside Chicago, her partner Echo, a sleek, focused Belgian Malinois, tugging the leash forward. The suspect was armed and dangerous, a wanted fugitive linked to a string of warehouse thefts. Echo had been on over 100 missions, but Carla knew this one was special, not because of the danger, but because it was Echo's last. "Go!" she shouted as the man darted into a garage. Echo lunged forward, clearing the fence like a shadow. Seconds later, the suspect was down, Echo's growl low, his teeth inches from the man's arm. The arrest was clean. The team cheered. Back at the precinct, Carla knelt next to Echo, her voice trembling. "They're retiring you. Regulations, you're 6. Too old for the city, they say." She handed the captain's letter to her partner, knowing he couldn't read it, but somehow understanding. "Transfer approved. Echo, K9 unit is reassigned to South Africa Wildlife Protection Program under Anti-Poaching Initiative." "No handler?" she asked. "They need Echo more than we do," the captain replied. Carla hugged him one last time. They don't know how lucky they are. The Kruger National Park heat was dry and endless. As Echo stepped out of his crate, his senses were flooded. Foreign scents, animal tracks, strange bird calls. A tall, broad-shouldered ranger stepped forward. "Tabiso Mokoena," he said softly, kneeling to meet Echo's eyes. "Welcome, soldier." Tabiso wasn't what Echo expected. Quiet, patient, and always carrying a folded photograph in his shirt pocket. Echo noticed him looking at it every night, the face of a smiling boy with a lion cub beside him. Echo's new life was filled with tracking poachers, finding snares, and long, silent treks. Tabiso barely spoke, but his sadness was deep. At night, Echo lay by his door, sensing something broken, something Echo couldn't chase or bite or bark away. One evening, after removing a wire trap, Tabiso finally told the story. "My son, Sifo, loved lions. He raised a cub called Kumo. Cloud. He was killed when he tried to stop poachers from harming the pride. They shot him and the lions ran. I found Kumo alone days later, but I failed them." Echo nudged his hand gently. Not all was lost. At dawn, a drone picked up a limp shape near the western riverbank, a young lion, possibly Kumo, injured. Tabiso and Echo raced through the bush in a dusty jeep. When they arrived, they saw the animal, a golden lion barely older than a cub, bleeding from a bullet wound in the side, a wire trap clamped around his paw. The lion growled weakly. Tabiso drew his tranquilizer gun but paused. "Too much movement, he'll bleed out," the vet said over radio. "Don't approach." But Echo already had. Ignoring commands, Echo moved forward slowly, ears down, tail steady. He approached the lion, who was watching, ready to lunge. Then something extraordinary. The lion lowered its head, not in fear, in trust. Echo lay beside the beast, his body calm, unmoving, guarding. The lion's eyes slowly blinked. For 4 hours they stayed that way. Tabiso whispered, "Kumo, is that you?" When the vet team arrived, they stabilized the lion. Echo didn't leave his side until Kumo was loaded into the transport crate. Tabiso looked at Echo, not as a tool, but as something far more. "Not just a K9, he said, "a soul sent to heal us both." Weeks later, Poachers returned. A tracking collar placed on Kumo after surgery pinged an alert. The lion had been released back into the wild, but was now stationary. Again. Tabiso's worst fears stirred. The unit moved at night. Echo led the charge through darkness, detecting scents of humans, blood, metal, and fear. The poachers had set up camp near a waterhole, planning to trap Kumo again, this time for his skin. A shot rang out. Echo sprinted through bushfire shadows, teeth bared, weaving past thorns and ash. He attacked one man's ankle, taking him down. Another raised a machete, but Tabiso fired, tranquilizing him. They found Kumo, again wounded, but alive. Echo stood over him once more, growling until the medics arrived. By sunrise, 3 poachers were arrested. News of Echo's bravery reached across the country. He was hailed as the guardian of the lions. Back in the U.S., Carla received a letter. Echo saved a lion today, twice. Locals now call him Ingwe, the spirit leopard. He sleeps beside the pride sometimes. He's not wild. He's not domestic. He's something else. She cried, reading it, not tears of sadness, but peace. She printed the photo enclosed. Echo, beside a lion under a wide African sunset. Months passed. Kumo healed. Tabiso watched as Echo wandered freely between base and wild. But Echo always returned, not for food, but for connection. One morning, Kumo approached Echo with 2 cubs. They nuzzled him playfully like siblings. "They've accepted him," the vet said, "not as a dog, as one of them." Echo's ears perked up. He stood tall on a rock above the cubs, watching the horizon. The unit joked about building him a lion-sized collar. But Tabiso knew Echo was more than a K9. He was a bridge. Years later, Echo's steps slowed. Age found him, even in Africa. One morning, he lay beneath the acacia tree where he'd first met Kumo. Tabiso knelt beside him. "You brought me back," he said. "You saved my son's lion. You saved me." Kumo came to, as if sensing the moment. The lion rested his head near Echo's. Echo closed his eyes. The wind picked up, soft, full of whispers. The team buried him beneath the tree. Above it they carved, "Here lies Echo, defender of the wild, friend of lions, loyal to all." Kumo returned often, lying beside the grave. Carla flew in the following year. She knelt at the tree, placing a single medal on the stone. "He always came when called," she said, "even across oceans." Today, the anti-poaching unit in Kruger tells Echo's story to every new ranger. Children in nearby villages grow up hearing about the dog who saved the lion. Statues were raised. Wildlife funds grew. Echo became a symbol, not of control, but of coexistence. And somewhere in the heart of the savannah, a pride of lions still pauses when they hear a rustle in the wind, as if listening for the echo of a protector who once walked among them. If this story touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe to keep their memory roaring.